All right, everyone, welcome to our channel. I'm here joined by Fran today. If you guys don't know me, my name is Ron. Today, we'll just be covering a couple topics that I think would be interesting to help a lot of brand owners with their BFCM prep, since, considering that it's 8 to 9 weeks away. What do you think about that, Fran?
Yeah, great. I think that's a perfect timing to start this topic. And if you're still not preparing for it, I think it's a perfect time to start because you're not late. But yeah, we'll cover everything and hopefully it will help you to start preparing for it. And I hope everyone who listen to, I hope everyone will benefit from this. And yeah, let's jump straight into it.
Yeah.
So,
So for the first part, what do you wanna, what are you gonna be covering for today's podcast?
so I had three topics in mind, which is like what worked last year, something about creative offers and post BFCM strategy, and how to crush even when all of the hype about BFCM finishes.
Perfect, man. Yeah, so for my end, I'll be covering timing and prep. So just planning early, as soon as you can, add costs and budgets around this, and then just the customer experience overall. So what to do post, BFCM. But yeah, friends, start us off. What kind of worked last year that you kind of noticed with that?
Yeah, last year, a lot of change for the last year. Last year, well, a lot of brands were focusing into influencer marketing, UGC creations, and all that. And that was kind of the main thing with it. So the whole creative systems and strategies changed a lot. I mean, of course, those stuff work pretty good right now. But what most people and what I did with my agency, we kind of leverage the whole like static image opportunity because you can get cheaper metrics with it, and with all of the newest like ChatGPT, Nano Banana, all of the softwares, it can get really good with creating it. So your whole product photography and your whole static ads are now on a completely different level. So I think more people are leading into that kind of creatives, meaning that you'll have more more time and more opportunities to test different angles because your time to create creative just cuts to like three times. And yeah, I think more people are focusing into testing more offers, testing different angles, different concepts, and that way you don't need to wait on your creators or scripts or whatever. And yeah, I think that's the most powerful thing that's changed in comparison to the last year.
Okay, so would you say like there's just like more ability to be able to kind of have, like you said, like just to test a lot more creatives considering with like all of the tools that we have available now, right? So is that like the main pattern that you've seen from like last year compared to like how this year is going to play out?
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot more static images. That just like my expectation in a way because I'm currently just building the systems around it. So I think a lot of people will just benefit from it, and I think a lot of people will utilize this. So yeah, that's like the main thing that I think people will focus preparing for BFCM. And when BFCM came, because when that kind of time came around, the KPIs will skyrocket and it will be a lot of competition. So it's better to, in my opinion, to test with something that is initially cheaper to get out, and then your whole budget can be prepared for it, because otherwise it just it's sometimes it's just harder to outbid all the competitors.
Yeah, what do you think your predictions are for how everything's going to play out for this year?
I think this year would be even bigger than the last year, even though last year I think even Shopify made some crazy, because you can track that. Shopify always had that like tracking, like how much people spent on Shopify across all of the Shopify stores. And I don't remember the exact number, but it was something really crazy. So I think they will exceed that this year because a lot of people joined into the ecom space over the years, and I think more people are now, like I said, utilizing the the easier way to get into it because of these all of the AI tools and stuff. So I think people are moving faster and people are getting their stores and their creatives in place much faster. So there's a lot more people and a lot more stores running this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, how do you think that, like, just with AI emerging into everything that creatives and just people like media buyers and stuff are doing so far, how do you think that has impacted a lot of ways of like people interacting with ads and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think people are now, of course, used to seeing ads and they're like constantly around it for years now. But I think a lot more people are trying to build a whole ad, not looking like an ad, and moving from those hard selling angles to just be benefit focused instead of product focused. And that's like the main angle that I saw a lot of people do. It just like there is always a rule that customer is your like your first priority and your main priority. So prioritizing that, you will be way ahead than a lot of people who are not realizing that.
Okay. What would you say is like kind of the winning angles now that most brands should be approaching with, just so kind of they can keep themselves ahead of the game for this year?
Yeah, I think it's really hard to say what the winning angle is. I personally do not love to say winning angle, winning product, winning this and that. But usually, it's just like understanding your target demographic, understanding their pain points, and once you get those two, I think it's just like circling around and seeing which kind of concept works for your brand.
Yeah, and oftentimes there's like usually with depending on how brands are just approaching their creative testing and their scaling strategy. What would you say would be the best approach just to avoid creative fatigue and ad fatigue and stuff overall?
So what I always suggest is to pump out as many creators as possible because first you don't want ad fatigue, and the other reason is you want to have as many concepts, as many visuals, as many content in general to just be able to test because in ecom it's just testing. That's what I always say. And just being able to have like a content machine, content workflow, that's something that will get you way ahead than if you're just relying on the stuff that takes a lot of time and effort to build, and then you're just stagnating and nothing is happening, or it's really slow. If you move fast, like with everything in life, you'll just have more results and you will have more clarity in terms of everything that you do.
Okay, so just like having a proper structure and system in place to consistently be able to like pump out creatives and being able to test that to just scale that a lot further, right?
Yeah, like a creative engine, creative machine. That's the main focus that people need to have. Of course, you need to have other things dialed in, but I think in 2025, creative engine and creative flow, which works seamlessly and really fast, it's a literally game changer.
Yeah, amongst the clients that you've kind of talked with or like kind of worked with, what was like the process that you kind of approached it for them?
The thing that I always do for all my clients, and when I audit other people's ad accounts, when I first thing that I want to present them is basically what I said. Creative engine and creative workflow is basically a game changer because you can be at basically any scale of your ecom journey, but if you don't have consistent creatives and engine that can basically build and pump out as many creatives as you possibly can imagine, you're just stuck. And people are just constantly trying to figure out their winning ad or their winning approach, or they're just replicating the ad creative that worked previously, or just is currently working, and they're just duplicating that concept, and they're not leveraging the opportunity to have that creative working, and then find five variations of that winning angle or winning creative, as well as making new concepts and new creatives, because then you're just relying on the one single concept and one single angle that performs. And on the other hand, when you have variety of them, you're just way ahead, because imagine that you have five different things that works, and now you're just leveraging the one thing.
Yeah, yeah. So would you say that like most brands now just are stuck at scale because they just don't like I'd say like most brands are kind of stuck at scale because they don't have like a they basically just don't they kind of feel comfortable with where they're at in terms of like their testing strategy and like their scaling strategy overall that just kind of leaves them stuck within certain numbers. Is that what you see?
Yeah, that's like the main thing that I see is people that are stuck. Usually, they don't have any content, even content plan, or anything in place. It's just like we saw this work previously. Our competitors are doing this. Compare yourself to others. In that case, it's not really good. Of course, you always want to use your competitors as in your inspo. You need to realize what works for your brand, and that's it.
Yeah, so just like obviously like most brands now just kind of approach it by just copying other competitors' angle and thinking that like okay, I have this strategy and it would just kind of work out for me even though each brand is completely unique and it's different in terms of like the offers and angles and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, basically everything is individual. There is no winning formulas, winning creative system. Each brand is individual. There is not such a thing of having different ad account setups. It's just individuals. So you can copy and paste the same framework that your competitor has, but it will not work the same for your brand.
Hmm. Perfect. Yeah, let's get into creative and offers. So like what kind of deals and discounts do you think that like brands should be kind of bundling up together and just approaching their overall Black Friday, Cyber Monday campaign drops and stuff like that overall.
Yeah, I think people need to leverage some bundles and stuff, especially in BFCM, because yeah, okay, you will eat up your margins, but your AOV will skyrocket and your whole revenue will be higher. So in the end run, it will just make sense, and people are scared to do some discounts and stuff, but it's just the best opportunity to get your product out, get more people opportunity to try out your product, give them a reason to buy your product. And once you have that basically dialed in, you'll just realize that even though you ate up your margins, it just makes sense because your whole brand basically breathes different.
Yeah, I think it's important because adding on to that, just like having, especially like acquiring new customers in the beginning and stuff like that, especially if it's just like a new audience or like new, customer overall. It's just important to have them kind of have the touch point with the brand in the beginning, whether they've purchased for the first time, but just kind of having that relationship created, just so they're like, okay, I'm aware of this brand. I've actually bought something from them before, so like, it just creates a lot more opportunity. Like you said, it just eats up at your margins, but I think it's important because it allows for retention. So like you're able to like have those returning customers coming back, right?
Yeah, retention and acquire the retention in BFCM is really important because while everyone is bidding out for paid ads, you can just leverage your email list that you collected or SMS list, and that way you are having like 3 to 5 times cheaper results than others who aren't relying on that source.
Yeah, so like what kind of bundles do you think that like brands should kind of like put for? Do you think that's like aiming for a higher average order value just by increasing like like the value of like the higher tiered products, or like how would you uh structure that?
Yeah, I mean that's individual for each brand. but usually just like offer more and you'll get the return back. It just, of course, like we said, margins, and stuff. But I think giving an opportunity to people to just, like I said, try your product, give them the best value, best experience for your product. They'll just become your loyal customer instead of just chasing the like first time buyers and people who just had purchased because they're impulsive buyer or whatever. If you offer really good deal that a lot of people can't resist, that's what will separate you from the most.
Yeah, most definitely. It's just like structuring it and having, like really strong incentives for people to try to choose a higher bundled tier or like just stuff like that, right? So I think now what we've been approaching with even like some of the brands that we're working on is just like trying to structure like even like the lower tiered stuff to be the least attractive, right? So trying to make like the value of like the higher bundle stuff to like putting a lot of stuff together, to ensuring like the perceived value is a lot higher, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree, 100%.
Yeah. So okay, let's go into the next one for post BFCM strategy. So, after like usually around November to December, we kind of face a lot of buyers fatigue, right? So,
Yeah.
how would you say we could keep the like how brands can keep the momentum going, just after kind of nailing their BFCM.
So I think it's important to, like I said, main differentiating factor will be your creatives. If you have your creative strategy in place for BFCM, you'll just continue to do the same stuff for the New Year's, Christmas, and all that stuff. So it's just really important to be prepared on the each day, because Q4 is where you make the most. Like most of brands makes more than in Q4 than they are in the whole year. So
Mm.
being ready for the Q4, having, I would just suggest having thousands or like hundreds of concepts, hundreds of visuals ready for each stage for BFCM and for Christmas, testing different angles. Of course, there's a lot of work to it, but it will just pay out in the end, because if you're ready for BFCM, you have a really good opportunity in front of you to just continue to be ready to um, to lock in on that with Christmas campaigns and all these offers. And the good thing is you can validate your offers during the BFCM, and then you can just double down on it on Christmas time. And I think that's the most important thing, just to try to understand that BFCM customers and like those holiday customers are slightly different, because in BFCM people just want to get the best value for a buck, but on Christmas you want to leverage some emotional selling and stuff, because people are buying presents, people are buying stuff they waited for the whole year, so you can create even more angles than for BFCM.
Yeah, so you say like around usually the Q4 time is when people are a lot higher intent buyers, right? So,
Yeah,
what
of
would
course. Yeah,
you
easily.
yeah, what would you say within like January? How would like what would brands need to approach it with to kind of just gradually build up the relationships again or just gradually like, even try to get sales again after, people spending a lot already on
Yeah, yeah.
Q4. How would you gradually warm that up?
I would say for example, supplements brand, which I work the most with, is just having a good subscription system and your retention system, meaning emails and stuff, because it will just create the loyalty with customers, and you can just rely on that source while you're still trying to figure out angles and stuff with paid ads. And I think that's the best way to approach it, because you're still having decent revenue coming in from the retention strategies, and then you can slowly build up your spring campaigns or summer campaigns, depending on your product. But it's just also seeing what worked the past season, like for BFCM holiday, and if you made it right with all the offers, all the concept, you just have proven frameworks, and you can just continue to build on that during the year.
Yeah. Just to add on to that as well, I do agree. Just like having a retention system on the back end and just keeping subscriptions, especially implementing subscriptions if you have a product that has potential for a high customer lifetime value, right? Just being able to gradually warm up the list again, or just like engaging with your audience in a specific way instead of just blasting discounts. Because I see like, okay, like post BFCM, they'll be like, okay, here's another discount, like,
Yeah.
like people don't want to see any more discounts or anything like that after that period. So it's just best to approach it by gradually re-engaging with your customers, like being just like building a relationship where it's not necessarily sending campaigns or just having emails that with the end goal is to just sell, right? So having just kind of sending different things and also having a post purchase. So especially during around Q4, having a well structured out post purchase is what's going to really retain the client or the customer, because they're gonna remember that, and then it's also like an opportunity to be able to cross sell to other things that you may have, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. Having a retention strategy, especially, is powerful after a lot of people spent a lot, and it's perfect opportunity to get new buyers with your paid ads, and then just transition those new buyers into your repeating customers.
Perfect. Yeah, so let's go into my section. So I'll be covering timing and prep. So why why early planning is going to be essentially crucial now. I mean, we're kind of just late into creating this
No.
video or like this podcast overall, because we're not too far away from entering Q4. But if this applies, even for next year or whatever, it's just super important to plan early, because you don't want to be like some brands that are just like last minute, right? They're trying to get everything together, they're trying to like bundle their offers and stuff together and just don't have a clear structure or strategy. So I think that like just any the best way to approach anything is just having a clear structure and like system and even strategy of like, how are we going to approach this, how we're going to be different from the 1,000, 2,000 millions other brands that are prepping for around this season as well, right? So planning early just essentially means we focus on, okay, like running the ads, because usually when it moves closer to the date, CPMs and all those things start to skyrocket, right? Would you agree?
No, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Q4 is when it's the highest, and is the hardest time to acquire customers. So, like we said, having a retention and having loyal customers will just help you with the fact that you are having a lot more when you need a lot more to spend and all that stuff. So yeah, I agree. Timing and preparation, of course, we are late to it almost, because if you're not prepared for it, you will have a hard time. But it's still not too late, because of course it's not started yet, and if you act fast, you can just make up for it. But in my opinion, yeah, just preparation, when you are preparing for it, if you have everything dialed in, just double down on the creative systems, and like I said before, just act fast. And yeah, I think no matter the preparation, if you just act fast now, I think you'll be good.
Yeah, I genuinely think that preparation is going to be key, especially just building up the list overall. So just kind of making the most out of the ad strategies and just like the stuff that we're doing with paid media. So essentially, just being able to have a strong incentive for people to want to be onto your list, right? Because that's like the most like the best way to really re-engage with those people that have already kind of expressed interest into your brand. So a lot of times with just like the social media platforms like Instagram, TikToks, and all these other platforms, it's good in a way depending on like the following that you have to be able to send the traffic from there to basically like drop your BFCM campaign or whatever. But I think it's generally more important to kind of own the audience that you work so hard for with like content and all that stuff. So having the emails and stuff up in place will just allow for a stronger connection, and you're able to send out campaigns, stuff like that, that will give you a significant return, especially if you know how to approach it properly. It can bring in a significant amount, right?
Yeah, I agree completely. Yeah, even though I love paid ads and having new customers coming in into brands, but having loyalty customers will always beat new customers for sure.
Yeah, and I think that with the whole preparation, it's just like so much better when like brands are like paying like months and months in advance, right? So it's not like scrambling the last minute, just trying to like. I think it's even like maybe even the beginning of Q3. I mean, that's a little crazy. I think like like in the middle of Q3 ish, right? Like approaching Q4 is like the sweet spot to like start
Nah,
planning.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, yeah. When Q3 comes around, you obviously subconsciously know that Q4 is next. So I think mid Q4 Q3 is the perfect timing to understand what worked for the whole year, and then just using that experience and applying that for a Q4.
Yeah, but I also think that like with Q3, it's also best to plan early when you can, because like again what we've mentioned is like the CPMs and cost per click and all these things start to like skyrocket, right? So it's just like important to be able to like create the bundles and offers and everything that the brands have, and trying to validate those offers, right? To see that, okay, will anybody actually convert? Will anybody actually want to buy what it is that we're offering, right? So just like taking months in advance to be able to basically validate the offers, having good creative testing and scaling strategies to ensure that you're getting the most traffic as much as possible, and having and yeah, just like building up that list, right? Continuing to really build up that list overall.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's the most important thing. Just to to test out what worked previously, and not forgetting if you have things that worked previously and you try to find new angles, new approaches, like I said, just again understand what worked previously for you, leverage that, but also try to find a new way how to make it work again.
Yeah, would you say that like if a brand kind of approached the same like strategy from last year, would they be able to perform the same, or do you think that they should like find a completely different angle?
No, I currently I don't think you need new angle, like completely new strategy, complete polar opposite of it. But I think, like I said, learning from the experience from the last year and just adding a final touch or like final piece of the puzzle to the old strategy if it was performing really good. It's just like adapting to the new trends and new situation in the market. I think that's the most powerful thing that you can do.
Yeah, what would you say would be like the trends now that you see just for this upcoming Q4?
Trends in terms of what people are selling or what offers they do, or
Yeah, I say mainly more offers, because that's the thing, that's what's going to be driving a lot of the sales. So like what's kind of like
yeah, I
the
think
angles
a
that
lot of people are doing, like I mentioned previously, the emotional aspect and finding the prospects or like customers pain points, and yeah, just understanding your customer avatar and basically making sure that they understand that your product is better than the competitors, because that will give you the most leverage. Because if they see competitor, and if in their hours you are above your competitor, most likely you will just always be their first option.
Yeah, yeah. So getting into the next one, we have ad costs and budget. We kind of discussed that a little bit in our
Yeah.
previous convo, but yeah, just overall the budget and everything is going to be like the CPMs and all this other metrics are going to be skyrocketing. So it's just best to have emails. I think that's like simply put. It's just like because like you're gonna get a lot higher of a return by engaging with people that have already kind of opted in to be marketed to. So brands kind of overlook that and just having the essential flows and everything like that to ensure that that is being maximized as well. The last one is customer experience.
Also the thing that I would add to ad costs and budgets, I think the most important thing is just to have a tracking in place, tracking sheets, having everything dialed into the single number, a single cent, because then if you understand your numbers, you will have easier time to position yourself, make decisions, have the whole strategy more precise, because like Ron already mentioned, ad costs and everything will just spend pretty quickly, because like ad costs will just skyrocket, and then if you have everything dialed in on that end, you will just know your target CACs and all the numbers. So yeah, like I said, whole decision making and everything will be in place. So that's like another thing that a lot of people don't look at it, but it's really important to have it in place.
Yeah, I do agree with what Fran said. To just like completely know like the numbers and everything that you're doing, just so you're able to like. So it just essentially becomes an inputs game, right? You understand that okay, these are the angles and everything that we're testing for our brand, and we see that these things are working, and you kind of just like dive into a little bit deeper and trying to find what specific parts of it you think is kind of moving the needle forward for your own business or your own brand, and then just knowing the exact numbers that that is keeping you profitable and just like basically reiterating and just keep finding like different angles and stuff like that, right? Just so that you can
Absolutely, yeah.
maximize your efforts with Facebook ads and all this other stuff.
Yeah, agreed,
but
yeah.
but yeah, for customer experience, retention tactics, fast shipping, and all these other things that we can put. I think that customer experience is going to be very crucial, especially during around a fast-paced time like Q4, right? Because everything is like, you know, being ordered, everything's trying to be shipped and stuff like that. So it's like rapidly moving. So being able to nail in your customer experience to, when packaging arrives and all this other stuff to the T, right? So I think that brands that are actually on top of that will create better relationships other than some brands that take even forever to to respond to an email. So
Nah,
it's just
yeah.
like trying to stay on top
Yeah,
of everything to
absolutely, yeah. Having customer experience in place, I think it's also a crucial thing in Q4. Like Ron said, new customers, you want to give them the best experiences possible to turn them into your repeating customer, your loyal customer.
mhm.
So even though people are focusing to just get sales, those sales are essentially your customers, and it's not about hitting a revenue goal and having milestones and stuff crushed if your customers aren't satisfied, if your deliveries if your orders are late, if like Ron said, you're not responding to emails, if just their experience is not in place, if it's not sitting right with them, there is no revenue goal that you can expect for the next Q4 or the next period of the year, if you just didn't have that in place, or if you just focused on the different areas. Even though a lot of brands I see nowadays, they do care about customer experience, having their brand image correct, and that's what I love to see. But yeah, it's just like in all that rush with all the stuff and all the volume that Q4 really takes. It's just sometimes hard to just have everything perfectly set it up. So making sure you're having your customer support in place and making sure that you have at least one person whose job is just making sure that everything is working seamlessly.
Yeah, I think that like brands that overlook customer experience overall is just, shooting themselves in the foot and, leaving a bad taste in the customer's mouth, in terms of like their brand image and everything like that. But yeah, I do agree with what you said. So just having like a full system or structure or just people in place that be able to kind of be on top of the support team and stuff like that to ensure customer experience. But alongside that as well as also just like the speed of delivery, right? It depends on like obviously where you're shipping to and stuff like that, but just having a fast shipping time where you can, and even in your offers and stuff like that. So like having a dialed offer to like incentivize free shipping, or even just having free shipping overall, will create a better experience for that, right?
Yeah, that's closely connected to the offers and stuff. So if you also dialed in on the offers and if you find an angle also with shipping or whatever, just try to make your customer feel that they got the best deal they could possibly get.
Yeah, most definitely. But yeah, just to close it out, what other things that do you think that brands can be utilizing to make the most of this Q4? Because I know everything's going to be moving super fast, and stuff like that. So, what do you think we should leave them off with?
Just yeah, interesting question. So just mm, even if you're not ready, understand that you still have room to test. You still have room to improve. You still can get ahead of your competitors. So having that mindset that even though Q4 is around the corner, it's still not too late. You still can make a really good result. You still can make a really good story for the upcoming Q4. So having the mindset, even though for whatever reason you aren't preparing for it or you are not fully prepared, I think if you just focus on the right stuff that we mentioned, you can really see great results.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that like a lot of times they just put it. Most brands they just feel like they want to put it off, just so because they don't feel like they're ready enough, or like they just don't have everything in place, to ensure that they have the best Q4. But like like Fred said, like just focusing on where you can put most of your efforts into, to your campaigns and just like your structures, your offers, and your bundles and everything that you create, will still yield a significant return as long as you're prepping early and not waiting until the last minute to try to figure something out.
Yeah, if you're not ready yet, just don't wait for the 1st of January and having the mindset of, oh yeah, I'll just try to have everything in place for the next year, next Q4. Q4 is really a great opportunity, so you really want to utilize it now.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be an interesting Q4, especially with the stuff that we've been building as well, right, man? So I
Yeah,
think things are going to be rapid, in terms of speed and stuff like that. So we're trying to stay on top of everything.
yeah, pretty excited what Q4 brings us for our own projects. Yeah, because I think it will really be the biggest Q4.
Yeah, because even with like the
Mm.
current brand that we're working on and stuff like that, we're just gonna be testing out different angles and trying to see how we can maximize the results on that, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, even this podcast was just us thinking that it's not too late to just start, to just get our message across, just help out people to prepare even for the Q4 or the holidays. It just shows that whatever timing you choose, it's just better to start now and not waiting for the perfect moment. That's the mindset you should have. into building your strategies, your customers experience, your creatives, anything that you do with your brand. Is just don't get discouraged with all the timing, all the comparing yourself to competitors who already tried to test some different stuff pre BFCM. It just it just uh, yeah, just start and see where it can take you.
Yeah, it's just like constant iterations and finding your own, like basically essentially finding your own lane and your own gap or your own fit into this overall thing, because it's going to be a lot, because a lot of customers are going to be blasted with even emails on BFCM. So it's just like finding that differentiating factor, finding that differentiating angle that makes people like will hear you out around that period, because people are like they're more than ready to spend. So it's just about like, okay, why put your money into our brand, you know?
Yeah, why they should go with you? That's the
Yeah.
main question you should solve.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, I think that's for the podcast. We'll see you guys in the next one.